All right, Ron Goodall, FightHype.com. I'm here joined with Danny Garcia and his newly signed fighter, David Garcia. First and foremost, Danny Garcia Swift Promotion returns on Saturday, June 7th. The future is now Series 2. We got an action-packed event from the Newton Sports and Event Center in Newton, Pennsylvania, streaming exclusively on Millions.co and Millions.pay-per-view. We got a stat card, Mickey Bay is going to be on there, and it's going to be an exciting card as well as 15-year-old David King Garcia. Um, just wanted to I guess, understand the story. I know two Garcias, one David, one Danny, but how did you guys meet, and how did you guys come together with this
Oh,
awesome
yeah,
partnership?
definitely. I know King since he was, I don't even know how young he was. He might have been 8, 7, 10, one of those ages. And
I was six.
6?
Six, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. Time goes by fast. So I know him for a long time. He came to Philly when he was young, and he's always been a fan of mine. I followed him and his dad's career, and I became a fan of their relationship. And I just kept following his career, and I said, I always said when that kid is old enough, I'm gonna sign him. We're gonna make him a world champion. And June 7th is the start of everything. He's only 15, so we're gonna build him up
Hey, but
smart
tomorrow,
but great.
tomorrow 16.
Oh yeah, I forgot birthday tomorrow. Wow. 16. 15 and 16 the same
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
It's only a month.
So David, when you first met Danny, right? I remember when Danny was coming on the scene, he was on the World Star Hip Hop. He was doing all these great YouTubes with beating up puppets and stuff. Like I just remember how big like that moment in time of boxing was. And so for you to come along and get his attention, throughout all that, I mean, what was going through your mind when you got to meet, the superstar Danny Garcia?
Well, I remember when Dan had a meet and greet out here. And that's when my pop just got out of jail and I got to see him. It was a long ass line too. I remember Dan, man, Dan, you was like
I think that was like 2017. Yeah, that
you
was like
in
2017.
your prime too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Nah, it
Definitely.
was exciting. And now look at I'll sign to him. It's crazy.
What
That's
was it?
But
Was
it's
it a
so
little intimidating? Just the fact that you went up and met him and thought, hey, one day, I'm going to be able to work with him and things of that nature. Or did you put that two and two together? Did you manifest that?
I felt no, but like I felt like we clicked, like it was a good connection. Like I felt like, after meeting him and then we started talking more, like it just felt like more comfortable and like, it feels like he's an older brother to me.
Mhm.
sure.
Danny, I know that you just don't pick anybody, right? If that was the case, you would have like 1,000 fighters underneath you.
For
So
sure.
why David? What makes him stand out to you?
More than just his skill, he comes from a good family. That's what you always look at. Like I said before, his dad's his trainer. My dad was my trainer. And I know like if you're gonna invest in somebody, it's always better to invest in somebody who comes from a great family. I know his dad wants nothing but the best from him. And like I said before, I always thought he was a special kid. I always thought he had great talent, great skills, southpaw, and he's already beating up grown men in the gym. They're sending me videos every day. So I think he's a special kid. He has nothing but the world in front of him. And like I said, he comes from a great family and he has a skill. And when you got those two combinations and you're hungry, the sky's the limit.
I wanted to get your thoughts because the first time I met him was in Arizona when he was lightning fast and snatched Jake Paul's hat, and I think a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah, yeah.
people, he was put on the scene with that. So when you saw that happening, like, did you know that was going to be the play, or did you just wake up one day and saw him just doing his
No,
thing?
I didn't know. I didn't know, but that was good. That was good. That was brilliant. That was great. That's the things you need to do these days. You have to catch the eye of the public. It's more about just being a boxer. More these days, you have to be more of an entertainer, and you have to learn how to mix them together, and that's what makes a superstar boxer, along with the skills.
Yeah. David, do you remember, was that going through your mind? Like, I'm going to snatch his hat when you were coming up, when Jake was talking to you?
Well, it's crazy because he was wearing a hat at the time. Because I know the presser before that with Anderson Silva, he didn't have no hat. So I was that I don't know what like made me do that, but I was like, you know what? Let me pull a Floyd real quick. So snatch his hat.
Oh yeah, because he did it to Floyd, right?
He did it to
Yep.
Floyd,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Got your
you kind
hat.
of got him back.
Little
Yeah,
pay.
yeah, it makes sense. Okay, yeah, yeah, that's fire.
Yeah.
Just since I got two fighters and just because of Jake's fight and Chavez, like, do you guys like that fight as two professional fighters? I know that you spoke highly about him, Danny, and you give him credit as a real boxer, but what do you think about, the Chavez step up?
No, I mean, that's a great fight for him. It's a perfect fight for him. I actually think he's gonna win that fight. I got Jake Paul winning that fight, but
Yeah.
he is facing a former world champion. So if he beats him, then you kind of gotta give him his credit.
Mhm.
Because you gotta understand, this is a person who didn't grow up to be a fighter. This is someone who just started boxing like 5 years ago. And now on his, I think he's 8-1, his 10th fight. He's fighting a former world champion. I mean, it doesn't matter if Chavez is over the hill a little bit or what people think his lack of discipline. He's still a former world champion and he knows what it takes to be at that level. So if you could beat somebody like him, you kind of got to give him his respect.
What do you think, David? I know that, you showed quicker hands than him that day, but is he
Uh,
enough for Chavez?
yeah, I think so. I think so. He's been putting in that work, and I just feel like he's gonna win. I feel like he's gonna win.
That's
But
awesome.
definitely, I give Jake Paul props though. Stepping in the ring with a former champ,
Mhm.
so it's gonna be a good fight.
Mentioning former champ, on June 7th, Danny, you have Mickey Bay that's going to be, returning on your card. And, I know you worked with Mickey, David, and just so I guess wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, his ring return and what it means to the big scene on the Future Is Now Series 2.
Definitely. I'm Mickey Bay's, the time machine. That's what they call him. So, but yeah, so when I was getting ready for my last fight with Laura, Mickey was in the gym every day training, sparring against the young guys. I actually did miss with him a couple times. I saw how he was, sparring against the younger guys. I saw his worth ethic. Um, and then, one day he was like, I know you got your own promotion. Can you give me a shot? Can you just try to build me up and give me one more big fight? So I said, why not? I'm all about giving back, and he's a former world champion, and I feel like we could get him a couple fights and try to get him one of these big fights, so he could see what he wants to do with the rest of his career and go off as a champion or somebody who made some money in the game.
Mhm. And with you, David, Mickey's coached and worked with you, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit, right?
Yep.
What has he helped you overall in your journey of just transitioning as a professional?
He's helped with a lot. I just feel like you know, and I also got in the ring with him too. Got a couple rounds with him, so that was fun. But no, he comes from that Mayweather gym, and so with Robert, and then with some other great trainers too. So he brings that to the table, and he got it all.
Danny, would you ever give David an opportunity to spar with you just a little bit?
Now I stay away from them young punks, man. Them young punks hitting hard these days.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'll get in there with him. I'll get in there with him. I gotta see what the young man is made of. Sometimes you gotta see what type of grit they got.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
not
I'm a
not.
lot bigger than him, so but I know how to work. I know how to work, but I would like to see what he got
That'd be fun.
for sure.
Yeah, that's
Fun.
cool. That's cool. Not a lot of promoters, strap up and get in there and just make sure that their fighter's sharp. Like, I'm glad I signed you.
Yeah, sometimes you like to see what like me being in the ring with so many fighters. Sometimes you kind of know like who has it and who doesn't when
Mhm.
you're in there with them. I mean, I'm not saying that with David because I'm a lot older and he's younger, and but you kind of feel or see like, okay, this kid he has the potential. He has the grit, he has the determination, and the mindset to be a champion.
Just wanted to get your thoughts. Who does David remind you a little bit? Because I know a lot of fans won't really know him until he gets into the ring.
I mean, that's a good question. I think David really has his own style.
Hmm.
He's tall. He knows how to pick his punches. He's southpaw. He throws good short punches. Beautiful left hand. I can't really compare him to somebody else. I think he has his own style. He's definitely sharp. I think he's his own. I mean, that's the question you got to ask him. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure like he looked up to different fighters and stuff like that. So, but to me, I think he has his own style.
Would you agree with that, David?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because, of course I picked up, some from, pros, but I just feel like I have my own style.
Yeah. Have you picked anything up from Danny? I know the famous no look hook that everyone always loves.
Nah, for sure that hook.
Yeah.
For sure that hook. And then timing, of course.
Hmm. That's awesome. Well, look, with this event being in Pennsylvania, I know there's some age restrictions and things like that, but you're 15 or soon to be 16, but I know Danny, you had to work with certain things to make sure that he was legally able to fight. So, what was that process, and where was the confidence to put someone so young to get in the ring?
I mean, he's already a professional boxer. He just
Mhm.
didn't fight in America yet. So he's already a pro. He's already had 3 fights. So yeah, we just had to work with the Philadelphia commissioner. He led us in the right way. He told us everything to do. We got all the paperwork done. It was a little process because he was supposed to fight on my last show, March 8th, but um I guess the commissioner got mixed up on his age. He thought he was already 16.
Mhm.
So, everything happens for a reason. The commissioner did a great job in Philly, led us the right way, and we got everything done. And now it's go time. Everything's good. We're ready to go.
Awesome. Just making sure I get this correct. This is not just a one fight situation. This is a multiple fight deal, and you'll be managing or promoting him for an extended period of time.
Yes, sir. I'll be promoting him, hopefully for the rest of his career, but on contract, for the next couple of years for sure.
That's awesome. And David, you obviously know that you feel like you made the right deal, but just knowing that, you have Danny not just co-signing your abilities, but having the confidence that he wants to work with you until, infinity and beyond. How does that make you feel?
Oh man, it's a blessing, that's for sure.
Hmm.
I remember watching his fights, me and my dad would, because the Garcia caught my attention, my dad's attention, the father and son duo. And now fighting in front of him is gonna be I'm gonna put on a show. I'm gonna put on the show, that's for sure.